Good morning. We're back in the shop today. We're working on another mold. We're still doing the same jig that we worked on in the last video. If you remember, last video we created a little one-shot cavity mold for this jig right here. So right now we're working on a 5 cavity mold for the same jig except minus the collar. As you can see, I got the first side already done here. The difference in this one is it will not have that collar, but as you can see, it's going to have a wire keeper. So this one's going to be meant more for guys that want to throw soft plastics. Vertical jig and walleye in the springtime. They want to put a plastic and a minnow on, something like that. Problem with that collar right there is a lot of the smaller plastics, you'll push it on, it'll make the plastic kind of blow out. So, and that's, obviously a problem for a lot of guys. So, we're going to cut it down. We're going to eliminate that. This one here, I'm still keeping because I actually put that collar on there so I could tie a bucktail jig. In fact, that's been kind of what I've been doing this week, sitting around the shop playing on. So this is jigs made from that mold that we made in the last video with a little bucktail tied onto it. I'm not much of a tire, still working on that, but we're getting there. So, but yeah, so I made that collar's lone purpose was just something to grab onto while we were tying bucktail on. So this jig will have a different purpose. As you can see, I got 5 different sizes, all the way from 1/8 up to 3/4. 3/4 is kind of that's a personal project, more for I'm looking at that maybe for rigging in the river, pulling live bait, something with as heavy as a dropper jig. So I think the 1/2 and the 3/4 would be good for that. But the other 4 sizes I'm thinking more for casting and vertical jigging, stuff like that in the river. So let's go ahead and look at the fusion real quick. So if you remember last time, we were cutting a single shot mold. We made 2 sides out of 1 piece of aluminum. So that worked fine. So now we're going to expand. Now we're going to cut 2 separate pieces of aluminum and make a multiple cavity mold out of each set. You can see here I have set from 1/8, 1/4, 3/8, 1/2, and 3/4. When we're finished, we're going to have 2 pieces that fit together just like this. As you can see, the sprues are all kind of different sizes. I opened it up more as the jig got bigger. These last 3 I kept the same, but in later versions I might even shrink those down just a little bit. And looking at the cam work, you can see that we're not taking nearly as much material off as we were the last time. This is starting off with the 1/2 inch roughing end mill, but we're still doing those outside contours. We're going to cut the pocket for the hooks, and then we're also going to do our first facing pass. Then we're going to do our facing pass with the fly cutter. And then we'll begin our progressions down when we're cutting the cavity. So starting off with the 1/8 inch end mill, then a 1/16 to do all of our detail work, 1/16 flat to do the hook eyes, and a 32nd end mill to go ahead and knock out the slots for the hooks as well as the hook keeper. Rounding out, we'll be doing all of our boring and everything with a 1/8 inch flat end mill. Once this front side is completed, we'll flip it over and cut this backside cap off. Alright, let's get after it. So we're starting off with our 1/2 inch end mill. We're doing all the outside contour and doing the facing, and we're doing the hook pockets. Next, we're coming in with the face mill. We're cleaning that surface off so we get a nice, good prep surface for the cavities. Now here we are starting off with our ball end mill, our 1/8 inch, and we're going to start our progression down. So I'm using this one to rough out all the big pieces in each cavity, and it opens things up so we can get in there with the 1/16 inch end mill and do the detail work. Here we are after the 1/8 inch end mill. You can see that there's still quite a few tool marks because it's not a fully finished cavity. Now we're going to finish it up. So now we've dropped down to our 1/16 inch end mill, and this is going to go through. It's going to finish cleaning out the cavity with the bigger pieces, and then it's going to come back in and do a nice scallop tool path, which is going to smooth everything out and give us that finish that we're going to want on our jig. Alright, now we got the cavities all finished up. You can see they're all smooth. Look like they're ready to go. Now we have to finish up all the extra pieces. Great piece of video editing. Looks like I forgot to catch the hook eyes as we were putting those in. So now we're jumped down to the 1/32 end mill, and we're putting in the slots that are going to hold the hook in place. So we ran into some issues on this one. It's coming up quick. Let me kind of explain. The machine's getting ready to go into fault. It's going to finish this routine, and it's going to retract, and the normal routine is the spindle and everything moves back to its home position, which is in the back of the machine. You're going to see here it's going to go ahead and retract, and it's just going to stop when it gets to the top. That's going to cause a big issue. So here's what happened to cause this fault. This machine has limit switches set up on the different axes, so when those switches are triggered, the machine knows it's to stop. It can't go any further. There is a limit switch on the Z axis, and what I found happened as I was tearing the machine apart was the power cord for the spindle managed to get in between the rail that triggers the limit switch and the limit switch. By triggering the limit switch early, the machine lost its relation to the 0 point that we set earlier on the workpiece. So when I found the machine was in fault, what I did was I went ahead and cleared the fault. I rehomed the machine, meaning it found its bearings again, and I thought we were good to go. So I reloaded the tool, started the routine, and sent it. Well, here you go. You know, the real question is, if you don't mess something up every now and then, are you really trying? Well, that pretty much sucked. That 1/32 end mill, I was proud of myself. I don't know how many molds I've done with that thing, but it lasted a while. In fact, it was probably getting ready to be retired, and now it's dust, so I guess perfect send-off, you know. But on top of that, I snapped the main drive belt for the spindle in there, so it shredded probably instantly. If you look at when it crashed and the nut quit spinning, that's when the belt broke. So I had to, as you can see, it's a couple days later. Had to order some new belts and all that stuff and got it all back together, thankfully. But we did manage to get the mold together. As you can see, I didn't cap it, so that last step I just skipped. I was pretty disgusted at that point. So, but I did manage to get it done. So if you noticed, I didn't get a chance to bore the holes on the second side, you know, for the alignment. So I had to think that one out a little bit. I went ahead and took my drill press back there, put the 1/4 inch drill bit in there, and drilled the holes the rest of the way through. I then loaded the hooks up into the slots, used the second piece, and put them together so I had a good alignment. Used a couple clamps, you know, to hold them together, and then took the drill bit, went through the existing hole to the second side, and marked the location of where those alignment holes needed to be. And then I went back to the drill press, drilled the hole the rest of the way through, and then I had to oversize it a little bit just so I had a little play on the bolts, so that when the hooks are what's going to align the mold for the most part, but there's always a little bit of play. So opening those holes up a little bit allowed me to be able to, you know, move the mold around just that perfect spot, clamp it down with the wing nuts or with these knobs there, and then pour the jig. So it worked out. I was going fishing the next day and I wanted to get a few. So here's a picture of some of the eighth, the quarter, and the 3/8 that I poured. They fished great. I didn't even get a chance to paint them or anything. I just went ahead and poured them and took them out on the water. But next steps, I like the way everything looks. The eyes are gonna fit just fine. The 3D eyes and all that good stuff. So next steps is we're gonna go ahead and get some Do It mold frames in here. Obviously, just about anybody in tackle making is familiar with, you know, Do It molds and all that. And I know for myself, I spent years looking at that blank frame in their catalog going, how do you do that? You know, who does that? What's it cost? All that good stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and get some frames in here, make a production mold on one of those. We're going to video it, and I'm going to show you what goes into making a production mold on a Do It frame. It's interesting to watch, and it gives you a better idea of the whole process, and you know, kind of unlock some of that mystery there if you have it. So thanks for watching, and now it's time to get busy making some jigs. You got winter shows coming up quick, and looking forward to seeing everybody this winter at all the winter shows. And we'll have the new jigs, we'll have the wood baits, everything else out there. So we'll see you next time.